Now, as a result of the courts telling us we may be premature, we have to wait till the question comes out, we waited for the question to come out. Thus was born our second lawsuit. In the second lawsuit, Stop Slots Maryland with Mr. Meisner was a plaintiff. No Casino Maryland with a Barbara Nickelbein was a plaintiff. And I had actually called the good Reverend Dr. Phillips, and he had agreed that he would be a plaintiff in that lawsuit and was going to be a plaintiff with us. The spirit was willing, but the lawyers were weak, because at midnight that night when we were getting ready to file, a question came up and said, would the church be in any danger with the taxes with Mr. Francho's department if they took a position in a political question? And we were about 95% sure they'd be okay, but I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in purgatory, so we dropped the good reverend out, and he didn't get into the lawsuit, but he was willing. He came to the plate and said, go ahead, and the lawyers dropped him out at the last minute because we wanted to make sure that we didn't endanger the church's standing in any way. So we went ahead, and myself, I was in that lawsuit as a plaintiff also. Now, what happened in that lawsuit is we went and sued in Annapolis, and we get a 3-judge panel. We said, okay, the language came out. Here it is, and it doesn't tell the people that the money's going for these 74 pages of other things. All it tells the people is that the money's going to education. Now, when the bill was passed, it said money primarily for education. So we were partially lying to you, but when they published it and they put it out, they were totally lying to you. They said, it's all going to education. So we went down and we fought, and the 3-judge panel agreed. Now, when you look at the question and you go in to vote, they changed the portion, if you read past the title, which says video lottery terminals for education. That still says it's all going for education, but they said down where the small print is in the actual writing, we're going to add the word primarily because we don't want to mislead the public. And I said we went from fully misleading to partially misleading, and our good attorney who volunteered all his time and did a wonderful job, Mr. Kramer, had literally volunteered tens of thousands of dollars worth of time. He's a Democrat. He's reached across the aisle. He believes in the Constitution, said this is wrong. And the way he put it was, I think the best, he said, it's kind of like getting a tin award at the Olympics, but the Constitution deserves a gold standard. We have to do better. So we took it and went up to the Court of Appeals, the highest court in Maryland. And you can look on the websites and you can see these arguments. And those judges stood up there and they said, you're right, this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong. We figured we walked out of there and they were going to fix that language. And they came out, and it's a split decision. We don't have a copy of the decision. We don't know why, but they said we're going to leave it with adding the one word down inside that says primarily for, and we're not even going to fix the title. So the people who go in and look, it says slots for education, that looks good enough, they're still going to be misled about what it is that you're voting on and what the repercussions are of when you press that button or you vote for that. That is wrong, and you need to hold us accountable, just as we need to hold accountable everybody who voted for that bailout, whether they're Democrat, Republican, or independent. Everybody who voted to mislead the public and not to do their job needs to be held accountable, because we needed the public debate, and we needed to let you, they want to vote for slots, at least let them know what they're voting for. Don't mislead them and do everything possible to trick you into doing something. What we did was we took, oh, the other thing I want to tell you real quickly, there's no definition that came out for the word primarily. The word primarily is not defined in Maryland law. So now we've added this, the judges did, and we don't know what primarily means for education, 51%, or does it mean 10% for education and 10 other categories at 9%? So we don't know what primarily means yet. So the courts have ordered that, and this was the greatest part. When we're done, they said, well, you know what? You may be premature again, because they may actually spend the money primarily for education, even though we don't have a definition, eventually. So now they've invited us to bring a possible third suit if slots passes, and they don't spend the money primarily for education, but we don't have a definition on education, so we'd have to define that first. So very interesting where the court went. Now, what the current bill does do, I've went over. None of this money is guaranteed to go to education. Remember that. They're telling you that it's for education, and they're telling you that your alternative is to raise taxes $700 million. That's absolutely insane. There's nobody advocating raising taxes. You're going to get a tax increase. You're going to get a loss in the monies that we're spending. We're going to have cuts. And you're going to have slots. There is no way you're going to have slots replace the tax increases or the losses and the cuts that are necessary. And you heard Mr. Francho indicate that to you. Now, one thing I'm mainly upset about with this is we specifically changed our Constitution to add this. We're going to put a vice amendment in our Constitution. The Constitution should be about words that stir your soul. They should make you proud to be a Marylander or a U.S. citizen. They should make you feel something. They should not be words that hide what we should have done and to deceive the public. My favorite words from the Constitution come out of Article 6 of our Declaration of Rights. And they reach out and they tell the citizens about when government becomes oppressive. And the Maryland Constitution says that all persons who are invested with the legislative or executive powers of government are trustees of the public. And as such, we're accountable for our conduct. Wherefore, whenever the ends of government become perverted and public liberty is manifestly endangered and all other means of redress are ineffectual, the people may and of right ought to reform the old and establish a new government. The doctrine of non-resistance against arbitrary power and oppression is absurd, slavish, and destructive of the good and happiness of mankind. Those are the kind of words we need in our Constitution, not a slots amendment. Thank you.